Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Forge is an area for me to talk about Magic, Commander, and anything else while I try and drag this whole mental health thing back to where it's supposed to be. Now, this week, I want to start with a little explanation of where I've been, because I have not released an episode in a few weeks, mostly because I haven't been feeling well, and then kind of run down from work, and I've been having an issue with my leg, and I haven't really played a whole lot of Magic recently, mostly because of those reasons. Now, that isn't to say I haven't done anything with Magic. I have been like going through some of my cards and brewing some decks and pulling some apart and doing stuff like that. But yeah, I have not had the energy to really do anything beyond exist, basically. Now, I do have things in the works to like get back into the swing of things. I really needed to take a few weeks to like decompress and let my body catch up to the rest of my soul, or at least what's left of it. So, what have I been doing instead of playing Magic? Mostly, I've been playing video games and watching anime and reading books. So I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Legends EA, but also a lot of Civ 6, uh, while sorting cards, listening to audiobooks, or just, gameplay on YouTube. Let's see what else. I was keeping up on some of the animes I've been watching, but also I ran across an edit on TikTok of Sword Art Online, and I was like, man, it's been a few years since I've watched that, and I'm sure they've continued the story because I didn't even know season 4 came out. So I've been binging that, and I'm almost done with it. I think, 2 episodes away from finishing season 4. And I will say, man, that anime gets a lot of hate for anything past the first season. And yeah, the third and fourth seasons do get a little out there, but it's still an enjoyable anime. You know what I mean? But yeah, so all of that in so many words to say, I needed to take a nerd break. I needed to recalibrate. Yeah. Other than that, I did play a few games of Magic a while ago. Mostly just with my buddies. We got together after opening some boxes and slung some spells. Yeah. So I played the green white Hylia. What's her face? That when she attacks puts a counter on a thing. Anyway, so I built that. I also have another deck in the works from that. It's Belmore, which is the blue red bird that whenever you cast a instant and sorcery, creatures you control get like +1, +0, and trample. And I'm just waiting to hear back from them for when they want to play next. I do want to get back into getting up to the game store to actually play like Friday Night Magic. I just haven't had the money to be able to do that recently, mostly because, well, A, bills, B, my leg, and C, groceries. You know, I'm struggling. I'm making ends meet, but I'm not doing much past that. So yeah, that's just it's kind of where I've been recently, doing a whole lot of nothing, but honestly doing a lot. I will say, since I'm technically on vacation from work because work closes down this time of year, I have been able to catch up on some sleep. Instead of my normal, like, between 3 and 5 hours of sleep, I have been getting a solid 7 to 8 hours of sleep, which is an adjustment. But yeah. That said, all things taken into account, I am technically fine. You know, maybe a little rattled from this year, but yeah. Other than that, I hope if you celebrate Christmas, you had a good one, spent some quality time with family, and had a good meal. That's that's about it. I will say this is the first time in a long time that I told people not to get me magic stuff for Christmas because I still have so much to sort. Yeah, so I came out of Christmas with a new tablet, and I'm pretty happy with that. Something that I can take with me when I want to read and go for a walk. So yeah, I think that's about it for the update, and I'll take a quick break, and when we come back, I will talk about a deck that I started putting together because clearly having one elf deck wasn't enough. So yeah, I'll be right back. And we are back. Now, when I was going through some cards looking for one thing, I ended up finding some others. That was the legendary elves from the Lord of the Rings set. And I thought, well, I have a green-black elf deck with Reese, the exiled. Yeah, that's the one. And it's, a very standard elf ball. And so I thought, well, what if I did green blue elves and I kept the scry theme they want, but I still made it, elf ball. So that's kind of where I landed. So I had a bunch of legendary elves sitting around that weren't in a deck because I just had multiple copies. But specifically, the three that I had from Lord of the Rings that I was looking at was Legolas Counter of Kills, which is 2 a green and a blue for a 2/3 elf archer with reach, and it says whenever you scry, if he's tapped, you can untap him, do this only once per turn, and then whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you put a counter on him. Which is fine, but that kind of leads me down the path of not necessarily wanting to scry, but wanting to, like, find a way to turn him into a pinger with Death Touch, you know what I mean? After that, we had Galadriel of Lothlorien, which is 1 a green and a blue for a 3/3 elf noble, and it says whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Galadriel as your ring bearer, scry 3. And whenever you scry, you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card revealed this way, you can put it onto the battlefield tapped. So that one still wants to get the scrying in, but it really wants to lean into the ring tempting you, and that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to go with in this deck. So I went with my third option, which is Arwen Undamiel? I don't know. It's the uncommon Arwen. It's green, blue for a 2/2 elf noble, and it says whenever you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and it has for 4 a green and a blue, scry 2. So I liked having the ability to scry right on the commander, and then I just kind of built it around that, kinda. So the other legendary elves I had from that set are Elrond, the Lord of Rivendell, which is 2 and a blue For a 3/2 elf noble, whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you scry 1. If it's the second time this ability is resolved, the ring tempts you. So that one kind of plays well with both Arwen and Galadriel. Celeborn the Wise is 3 and a green for a 3/3 elf noble. Whenever you attack with one or more elves, you scry 1, and whenever you scry, Celeborn gets +1/+1 till end of turn for each card looked at while scrying this way. So he plays well with Arwen. And then there was Glorfindel, Dauntless Rescuer, 2 and a green for a 3/2 elf noble. Whenever you scry, choose one, and he gets +1/+1 till end of turn. So he either must be blocked this turn or can't be blocked by more than one creature each combat this turn. So again, plays well with Arwen. But next to that, I just had a ton of legendary elves sitting around. I had Gwenna, Eyes of Gaia, 2 and a green for a 2/3 elf scout. You can tap it to add 2 mana of any combination of colors. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells or activate abilities of a creature or creature card. Whatever. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 5 or greater, put a counter on it and untap it. Clearly, aren't a ton of elves with 5 power. It's here because it can tap to pay for Arwen's ability. Next up we have Selvala, Heart of the Wild, 1 green for a 2/3 elf scout. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. Again, we're probably not going to be drawing cards off of her. She's here for green tap at X mana and a combination of colors where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Next up, we have Dwynen, Guiltleaf Dayan, which is 2 green for a elf warrior, 3/4. It has reach, and it is the first of our lords. So other elf creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever it attacks, you gain 1 life for each attacking elf you control. After that, this is actually where I got the idea for the deck, because I found a Marwyn the Nurturer in a box. 2 and a green for a 1/1 elf druid. Whenever another elf enters the battlefield under your control, put a counter on Marwyn, and then it taps to add green equal to its power. And then there's Yeva, Nature's Herald. 2 green for a 4/4 elf shaman. It has flash, and it says you may cast green creature spells as though they had flash. So that was kind of where I started. Now I did pick up a few more legendaries for this deck, and then I kind of filled in with just other stuff that I had floating around. Mostly what I picked up were from the Lord of the Rings Commander deck. That was the elf deck. And a couple more from the set. And then a few more that were just, not in the set. Let's start with the ones that were not in the set. Let's start with Eladamri Corvectel. It is 1 green for a 3/3 elf warrior. It says you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library, and you can pay a green and tap it, and tap 2 untapped creatures you control to reveal a card from your hand or the top of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, put it onto the battlefield, activate only during your turn. So this can cheat things in out of our hand, or if we start scrying creatures to the top, off the top of our library. Next up, I have a couple of Izuris. So first up, we have the original Izuri, Renegade Leader. 1 green for a 2/2 elf warrior. It has for green regenerate another target elf. And then for 2 green, elf creatures you control get +3/+3 and trample till end of turn. He is kind of like the original elfball commander. and so I thought he would be good here. But since we're also in blue, I was able to get Azuri Claw of Progress, which is 2, a green and a blue, for a 3/3 Phyrexian Elf Warrior. Whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you get an experience counter. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is the number of experience counters you have. And then finally, we have Azuri Stalker of Spheres. 2, green-blue, for a 3/3 Phyrexian Elf Warrior. When it enters the battlefield, you can pay 3 if you do proliferate twice, and whenever you proliferate, draw a card. So, yeah. Next up, we have Edric, Spymaster of Trest. 1, a green and a blue, for a 2/2 Elf Rogue. And whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may draw a card. So, yeah. He's here to encourage people to attack other people. Next up, we have a couple more from the Lord of the Rings set. That is Galadriel Giftgiver. 3, green, for a 4/4 Elf Noble. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you can choose one. You can either put a counter on another creature, or create a food token, or create a treasure token. After that, we have Elrond, Master of Healing, which is 2, a green and a blue, for a 4/4 Elf Noble. And it says, whenever you scry, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to X target creatures, where X is the number of cards looked at while scrying this way. And whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. And then the rest of them are rounded out from the Lord of the Rings Commander deck. We have Círdan the Shipwright, 3, green, blue, for a 3/4 Elf Noble with Vigilance. And it has Secret Council. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, each player secretly votes for a player. Then the votes are revealed. Each player draws a card for each vote they received. Each player who received no votes puts a permanent card from their hand onto the battlefield. Legolas Greenleaf, 2 and a green, for a 2/2 Elf Archer with Reach. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. And whenever another legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Legolas Greenleaf. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Next, we have Haldir, Lorien Lieutenant, X and a green, for a 0/0 Elf Soldier. Enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. It has Vigilance, and for 5 and a green, until end of turn, other elves you control gain Vigilance and get +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Haldir. Next up, we have Galadriel Elven Queen, 2, green-blue, for a 4/5 Elf Noble. It has Will of the Council. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if another elf enters the battlefield under your control this turn, starting with you, each player votes for Domination or Guidance. If Domination gets more votes, the ring tempts you, then you put a +1/+1 counter on your ring bearer. If Guidance gets more votes or the vote is tied, draw a card. Next, we have Araster of the Council, 1, a green and a blue, for a 2/4 Elf Noble. Whenever players finish voting, each opponent who voted for a choice you voted for creates a treasure token. You scry X, where X is the number of opponents who voted for a choice you didn't vote for. Draw a card. And finally, we have Elrond of the White Council, 3, a green and a blue, for a 3/3 Elf Noble with Secret Council. Whenever Elrond of the White enters the battlefield, each player secretly votes for Fellowship or Aid. Then those votes are revealed. For each Fellowship vote, the voter chooses a creature they control. You gain control of each creature chosen this way, and they gain this creature can't attack its owner. Then for each aid vote, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So yeah, that's the suite of legendary creatures that's in the deck, which really shouldn't surprise too many people. But yeah, other than that, it's a fairly standard elf ball deck. Gonna go through like the mana elves and some of the other utility creatures relatively quickly, because I don't need to spend a ton of time on a lot of the ones that are like the same. So by that I mean Elvish Mystic, Llanowar Elves, Findhorn Elves are basically all copies of each other, and Arbor Elf is almost a copy of them. They're all 1/1s for 1 that either say tap for green, or in Arbor Elf's tap to untap target forest. But on top of that, we also have Incubation Druid, which 1 in a green, 0/2 Elf Druid, taps to add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. If this creature has a counter on it, instead you make 3 mana, and it has Adapt for 3 green. Elvish Harbinger is 2 in a green for a 1/2 Elf Druid that does tap for 1 mana of any color, but when it enters, you can search your library for an elf card, reveal it, shuffle it, and put that card on top. We have Elvish Archdruid, which is 1 green for a 2/2 Elf Druid. Other elves you control get +1/+1, and it taps for green for each elf you control. Circle of Dreams Druid is green for a 2/1 Elf Druid that says tap, add green for each creature you control. Then we've got Priest of Titania, which does roughly the same thing. It's 1 and a green for a 1/1 Elf Druid with tap, add green for each elf on the battlefield. Yeah. Then we've got Canopy Tactician, which is 3 in a green for a 3/3 Elf Warrior. Other elves you control get +1/+1, and it taps for 3 green. Rishkar, Pima Renegade, 2 and a green for a 2/2 Elf Druid. When it enters the battlefield, put a counter on up to 2 target creatures, and each creature you control with a counter on it has tap, add green to your mana pool. Heritage Druid is a single green for a 1/1 Elf Druid that says tap 3 untapped elves to make 3 mana. Tireless Provisioner is 2 and a green for a 3/2 Elf Scout with landfall. Whenever a land enters, you either make a food or a treasure. And Wood Elves is 2 and a green for a 1/1 Elf Scout. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for a forest card, put that card onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. And that's kind of like the core of an elf deck. A few things I want to touch on that aren't necessarily creatures. Like, I have a Training Grounds in here. Single blue for an enchantment. Activated abilities of creature you control are 2 less to activate. Can't reduce the mana to less than 1 mana, but it makes Arwen's ability cost 4 instead of 6. Mirror of Galadriel is 2 mana for a legendary artifact. Is 5 tap, scry 1, then draw a card. But this ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature I control. So as long as you have 5 legendaries, it's free to scry. And then I just kind of threw in a bunch of things that let me scry, like Ugin's Insight. 3 blue for a sorcery. Scry X, where X is the highest mana among permanents you control, then draw 3 cards. Arwen's Gift, 3 in a blue for a sorcery. 1 less to cast if you control 2 or more legendary creatures. Scry 2, then draw 2. Shower of Arrows, 2 and a green for an instant. Destroy an artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. Scry 1. Goggles of Night, 1 in a blue for an artifact equipment. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, scry 1, then draw a card. Equips for 2. We have Elvish Farsight, single green for a sorcery. Scry 3, then you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, draw a card. It just all kind of comes together. I mean, I've got more elves I could talk about, but for the most part, I think I've gone through just about everything I need to. Also, we're quickly approaching the 25-minute mark, and I try and keep these under half an hour. So, yeah, that's kind of it. I'm still working on the mana base. I know I have a few things I want in there, and I haven't found them yet. But yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah, I'm done. I'm back. I'm gonna try and get back onto my regularly scheduled uploads. And yeah, I think that'll do it. So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulvey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.